I welcome you to my channel. Subscribe and listen to my new stories every day. John stands in the quiet of their kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound piercing the early morning stillness. He picks up Emily's phone from the counter, intending to check the weather before his jog, something he's done countless times before using her passcode, his own birthday. It's a small thing, a gesture of trust and intimacy woven into the fabric of their daily lives. He taps in the familiar digits, but the phone buzzes, the screen flashing the cold words, incorrect password. Confusion wrinkles his brow. He tries again, slower this time, ensuring each digit is precise. Yet, the result is the same. The denial feels like a small betrayal. Must be a mistake, he mutters to himself, his voice a low thread of sound in the silent kitchen. He tries once more, the phone remains locked. A seed of suspicion plants itself in his chest. Why would Emily change the password? Their lives are an open book to each other. Or so he thought. The seed sprouts a troubling thought: what if the password is another date? On a hunch, he enters the birthday of their mutual friend, Mike, a man who's been a constant in their lives, almost a brother to him. The phone unlocks. It's like a punch to the gut. John's heart races as betrayal coils tightly around him. He stands frozen, staring at the unlocked phone in his hand, the betrayal seeping deeper into his veins. He breathes heavily, the weight of his discovery pinning him to the spot. Later that week, after days of watching, waiting, and simmering in his growing distrust, John comes home early. The house is too quiet, and an ominous intuition guides him to their bedroom door. He pushes it open and the scene before him confirms his darkest fears. Emily is there, in a compromising and intimate moment with Mike, in the very heart of their shared life, their bedroom. The shock is visceral, cutting deeper than the cold air outside. He can't speak, can't move, just watches as the two scramble, their expressions a mix of fear and guilt. John. Emily's voice is a desperate plea, but it falls on deaf ears. Mike, shirtless, tries to explain, "John, this isn't." But John is already backing away, his mind racing with hurt and anger. This betrayal isn't just Emily's, it's a double blow with Mike's involvement. Words fail him, they seem trivial now, useless against the vivid truth of the betrayal. In the days that follow, John's mind works relentlessly, crafting a plan for revenge. He doesn't confront them right away. Instead, he lets the knowledge simmer, letting them believe he might have accepted the unimaginable. But revenge, when it comes, is swift and devastating. He ensures that the fallout is irrevocable, ruining what could have been their destiny together. The divorce is quick and cold, much like the betrayal. He walks away, vowing never to cross paths with either of them again. John's life is a whirlwind of silent planning and cold calculations. He moves through his days mechanically, his interactions with Emily punctuated by the forced normality of routine. Yet beneath the surface, his heart brews a storm of retribution. Today, he sits across from Emily at breakfast, the clink of spoons against bowls echoing like distant thunder. His eyes flicker to hers, searching for any sign of remorse, but she is an excellent actress, her smile as warm as the morning sun. "John, are you sure you're okay? You've been quiet lately," Emily's voice breaks through his thoughts, tinged with concern. He nods, forcing a tight-lipped smile. "Just tired, that's all." She reaches across the table, her hand brushing his. "Let me know if there's anything I can do," she says, her eyes searching his for a connection he no longer feels. "I will," John replies, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. The day progresses with John quietly observing, noting every call Emily makes, every message she sends. His once unquestioning trust now replaced by suspicion, he feels like a stranger in his own life. As night falls, John's resolve hardens. He can no longer live with the shadow of betrayal hanging over him. He decides it's time to act, to expose them both for what they have done. He arranges a meeting with Mike under the guise of needing to talk, just the two of them, man to man. The local bar, their usual spot for friendly drinks, now serves as the stage for confrontation. "Mike, thanks for coming," John starts, his voice steady, masking the turmoil inside. "Of course, man. You sounded serious. What's going on?" Mike asks, a hint of nervousness creeping into his tone. John leans in, his eyes locking with Mike's. "I know about you and Emily," he says bluntly, each word deliberate, watching as Mike's face drains of color. Mike stammers, a fumbled attempt at denial forming on his lips, but John cuts him off. "Don't. I saw you. In my own house, Mike." The silence that follows is suffocating. Mike looks down, his posture deflated, the weight of his guilt apparent. "I'm sorry, John. It was a mistake," Mike finally manages, his voice low. "A mistake?" John's voice rises, a sharp edge slicing through the calm. "You betrayed me, Mike. And for what? A fling?" "It wasn't just a fling." Mike starts, but John isn't interested in excuses. "I don't want to hear it," John interrupts, his mind racing. "You both will pay for this." Mike's eyes widen, a flicker of fear passing through them. "What are you going to do?" John stands, his chair scraping back loudly. "What I must," he states flatly, leaving no room for further discussion. As John walks away, the air thick with tension, he feels a bitter satisfaction. His plan is set in motion, and soon, they will both face the consequences of their actions. The atmosphere at home is charged, a silent storm brewing as John and Emily continue their dance around the truth. John, now a master of his masked emotions, keeps his plans close to his chest, watching Emily's every move with a calculated distance. This morning, as Emily brews coffee in the kitchen, the mundane act seems loaded with an unspoken tension. John enters, his steps deliberate, his mind set on confrontation. "Emily, we need to talk," he states firmly, his stance blocking the doorway. She turns, a look of mild surprise crossing her features. "Of course, John. What is it?" Her voice is steady, but her hands betray her, a slight tremble as she sets down the coffee pot. "It's about us, or rather, the lack of us in our relationship lately," John begins, his eyes never leaving hers. Emily sighs, leaning back against the counter. "I know things haven't been great," she admits, her voice softer now. "Great is an understatement," John retorts sharply. "I saw you with Mike. In our own bedroom, Emily. How could you?" The accusation hangs heavy in the air. Emily's face crumples, the facade breaking as she realizes the extent of John's knowledge. "John, I..." She starts, her voice cracking, but John is relentless. "No, Emily. I don't want excuses. I want the truth. All of it. Now." Emily swallows hard, her defenses crumbling under his gaze. "It started months ago," she confesses, her words tumbling out. "It wasn't planned. I was lonely, you were always working, and Mike, he was there." John feels a pang of hurt, quickly suppressed by his anger. "So, my best friend and my wife conspired behind my back because I was always working? Is that your excuse?" "It's not an excuse," Emily pleads, her eyes welling up. "It's just, what happened." John shakes his head, disgust and disappointment mingling with the cold plans of retribution forming in his mind. "What happened is betrayal, Emily. The worst kind." The conversation escalates, voices raised, a harsh exchange of words that cuts deeper than either intends. Emily tries to reach out, her hand extending towards him, but John steps back, unyielding. "I can't even look at you right now," he spits out, the finality in his voice more chilling than any scream. He leaves the house, slamming the door behind him, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet morning. Emily collapses against the counter, sobbing into her hands, her body racked with the weight of her guilt and the crumbling of her world. Outside, John's mind races as he drives away, each mile putting distance between him and the betrayal. He pulls over, his hands shaking with rage and sorrow. He grabs his phone and dials, his voice steady as he speaks to his lawyer. "I want to start the divorce proceedings. Today," he commands, the words a death knell to what was once a life filled with love and trust. As he ends the call, a plan forms in his mind, not just for separation, but for a revenge that will touch every aspect of Emily's and Mike's lives. His thoughts dark and swirling, he heads to a private investigator's office to gather evidence, ensuring that when he strikes, it will leave nothing but devastation in its wake. The final act of John's revenge unfolds under a heavy, cloud-laden sky, mirroring the dark culmination of his plans. Today, he orchestrates the downfall of Emily and Mike, a scheme crafted with the precision of a master chess player moving towards checkmate. In the dim light of early dawn, John sits in his car, parked a block away from Mike's house. His eyes are fixed on the rearview mirror, waiting for the signal. His phone buzzes, a message from the private investigator he hired, confirming that both Emily and Mike are currently inside. With a grim nod, he steps out of the car, his movements deliberate, his resolve steel. As he approaches the house, the muffled sounds of a heated argument reach his ears. John smirks, knowing his anonymous tips about Mike's financial frauds to Emily were just the spark needed to ignite their fallout. He doesn't knock, instead, he uses the spare key Mike once gave him, a symbol of trust now turned into a tool of betrayal. The door swings open silently, and he steps inside, his presence yet unnoticed by the quarreling pair. "You lied to me, Mike. How could you?" Emily's voice is shrill, tinged with desperation and anger. "I was going to fix it before you ever found out." "It's not what you think, Em." Mike's reply is defensive, his back to John as he pleads with Emily. John clears his throat, announcing his presence. The room falls silent as they turn to face him, their expressions a mix of shock and fear. "John, what are you?" "Save it, Mike." "I'm not here to talk," John interrupts coldly, his eyes glinting with the finality of his actions. "I'm here to end this." From his coat, he produces documents, photos, financial statements, all damning evidence of Mike's frauds and their affair. He tosses them on the table before Emily. "Emily, you were right to doubt him. Not just a cheater, but a fraudster too. Enjoy your ill-gotten gains." John's voice is icy as he delivers each word like a bullet. Emily's eyes widen in horror as she scans the documents, realization dawning upon her. She looks up at John, her face pale. "John, please. No more words, Emily. Actions have consequences." John cuts her off. He turns to leave, pausing at the door. "Oh, and I've informed the police. They should be here shortly." As sirens begin to wail in the distance, John walks out, leaving the door ajar. Behind him, the sounds of panic and pleading start up, but they're merely background noise to him now. He drives away, not once looking back, his heart empty of the love he once felt. At a red light, he deletes Emily's contact from his phone, each tap a severance of what they once shared. The chapter closes on John at a crossroads, the city sprawling out before him. The sky finally breaks, rain washing over his car, a cleansing of his past. He drives on, the roads leading him to a new life, forged from the ashes of betrayal. In the rearview mirror, the city fades away, along with all the pain and deceit. John knows the road ahead is uncertain and lonely, but it is free from the shadows of deceit. As the distance grows, so does his resolve to never look back, his journey forward marked by the lessons of the past.